This is the DJI Mic 3. It's a brand new microphone packed full of some awesome features, but there are some hidden menu items that you can use that will make or break your audio. Today, I'm gonna walk you through it all step by step so that you can start leveraging this powerful microphone to your advantage and have awesome audio. Let's get into it. For starters, we have the soft case, and this has everything inside of it. We'll go ahead and open it up. We have the charging case, magnets, USB-C cable, 3.5 millimeter audio cable, black wind muffs, and gray wind muffs. Let's do a quick overview of the charging case. On the top, we have the DJI logo, and there's this little Mic 3 indicator. On the back here, there's this USB-C port where you will plug it in to charge and to file transfer. When it's plugged in, you'll see these lights flashing to indicate how much battery life you have. 25%, 50, 75%, or 100, and when it's fully charged, the lights will go off. To open up the case, simply press in this button. It will reveal this little flap opening up, and then you can open the lid, and this will show all of the devices. Also, when you open the case, you'll get a quick glance at a few things. You'll see battery life and how much space is left on each of the transmitters respectively, and the receiver battery life as well. So it's nice to get everything at a quick glance to let you know where you stand before you start recording. The middle one right here is the receiver, and the two ones on the outside here are the transmitters. And then there's this little adapter right here as well. Now, one of the really cool things they've done with this case is the ability to place all of the things in it. Let me show you. So they've really reworked the upper part of the inside of the case. So right over here, you can see this little kind of oval shape with a divider line. And that is a spot that you can place the magnets. So go ahead and grab one of the magnets and you can place it right on the inside piece like so. We can grab the other magnet and place it in there, and they'll just be nice and comfortable right there. Just be careful when you're trying to get them in and out because they are magnets. They can snap together pretty easily. But moving on, there's also room for this 3.5 millimeter audio cable. So to easily place the cable in, you can see these little indicators up here in the very top. There's little indentations for the tops of the cables to go into, but there's a little dot right up there. You just kind of wedge it in on either side. And this just kind of helps the cable sit a little more secure in the case, which is handy. So it doesn't just fall out when the case closes, locks it in right there. And then you still have room for the wind muffs. So you can just kind of place them right up in here, or you can connect them to the transmitter as well, whichever you want. It all fits in there, closes comfortably. Pretty cool. So the case does do a few other things that I'll mention throughout this video, but for now, we're gonna talk about the receiver. So this is the receiver, and it's responsible for receiving audio signals that are coming from the transmitters. This is the device that's going to sit on top of your camera. It's going to plug into your phone. It's going to plug into a computer, and it's going to basically be that bridge of communication. It's also your main control center for the whole system. For starters, you have the touch screen, which you can use to navigate through the menu items, and you can also use this little dial here to adjust various things and navigate the menu as well. And you can push this button to select things in the menu as well. Over here on the side is a power button, and then there's this little locking button. And what this is for is to operate the back adapters right here. So if you hold down this button, you can easily remove the adapter plate. And then this is where back in the case, we have, this USB-C connector, and this will go right into this little plate right here. Just line up this orange arrow and slide it through like so, and boom, you'll hear it snap. It's locked into place now. And so to easily remove it, you can use the locking button again, hold it down, push it, comes right out. Then there's a little USB-C port right here, which you can use to connect the receiver to computers. And then there's these little electronic contacts right here. That is where the receiver communicates with the charging case to charge and link devices. And then over here on the side, we have a headphone jack where you can use to monitor your audio. And there's the 3.5 millimeter audio out, which you can use to connect to cameras and other recording devices. And that is one of the nice things with this system is the 3.5 millimeter cable is a locking cable. And so you'll want to use this locking end when you're plugging into the receiver so that you can screw it on and just get a nice, firm, stable connection so it doesn't accidentally come unplugged, which is really handy. Then right here on the bottom of the receiver is a cold shoe mount, which you can use to connect to the top of your camera. So you can mount it to your camera and you can face it either direction. If you're going to be recording yourself, you can monitor audio that way. Or if you're behind the camera capturing something else, you can do it this way. Now let's take a look at the overview of the transmitters. And this is the transmitter. It's super small, super tiny, and it's got some really interesting things going on with it. So for starters, it's got this clip on the back. And the cool thing about this is it's actually magnetic. So you can pivot the clip to face whichever direction you need to when it's mounted to your talent or to yourself or to your hat or to whatever you need. You can just easily maneuver which way the clip is facing, which is pretty cool. You can also just completely remove the clip. So then you can use the magnet and you'll be able to, mount this in a lot of interesting ways or just mount it flush to your shirt like I'm doing right here. And it kind of opens up a lot of possibilities having this separated like this, keeping it nice and small. So there is no, microphone input on these. There is no USB-C port. There is not even a dedicated power button. It's very minimal. You've got the gray and the black wind muffs. Obviously, they'll be, useful for certain types of filming if you just want to have an all blacked out look, or maybe it's up against a lighter shirt and you want a little bit of a lighter color, you can do the gray. But beyond just color aesthetic, the gray is typically a little bit thicker and will block out the wind a little bit stronger. So I typically just like to use the gray ones. I also find most of the time, even indoors, I like to have them on because they act as a little bit of a pop filter. And so, yeah, most of the time I like to have the wind muffs on. So in order to turn the transmitter on, you got to hold down the record button and you'll see it light up. And we can talk through what a couple of these light indicators mean. So when the light is green and blinking, that means it's looking for something to connect to. So if I go ahead and grab the receiver and pull it out of the case, it is now connected. I can see the audio levels happening there. And now this light is a solid green. But if I turn the receiver back off, you'll see it starts blinking again on the transmitter, showing it's looking for something to connect to. Now, if I hit the record button here, you'll see the other side lights up red. And this is a solid red, just showing that the transmitter is recording an internal audio file, which means the audio file will be stored onto this transmitter. Nothing is being sent anywhere. It's just kind of its own little dedicated recorder, essentially. And so this is a great way to get audio really quickly. It's a great way to get audio if you want to sync it up later, or if you just need a voiceover, you can do it that way. And it's really handy. I do this feature all the time. That's actually what I'm doing right now with this transmitter to record this video. This isn't actually being sent anywhere. It's only being recorded right here. And I'm going to, sync it all up later. So if we hit the record button again, we'll see the recording light goes off and that recording has stopped. Now, if we double press the record button quickly, we'll see this is now a little bit of a yellow color. And this means we've activated noise cancel. And so if we double tap it again, it's back to the more vibrant green. And this means no noise cancel is activated. So that's a quick little light indicator you can use to see what's going on. Then we have this little linking button right here. If we press and hold it, It's going to blink green and blue rapidly. This means it's ready to pair to anything. It can pair to the receiver, or it could pair to a Bluetooth device. Either way works. So let's grab the phone. So let's select the device here. Boom. Right there, it is connected. And once it's connected, you'll see that the light turns solid blue. So this is showing it is paired to Bluetooth. But what happens if we want to switch back to the receiver? I'll go ahead and turn the receiver on. It's not connected because it's connected to Bluetooth. So how do we switch back? Well, you can either press and hold to go into the relinking stage, or you can double press this quickly. And it's going to switch back to the receiver pairing mode. Boom, now I'm in, paired to the receiver, but what if I want to switch back to the phone real quick? Well, instead of holding it to completely pair it to a new device, I know I want to switch to Bluetooth, so let me just quick press to Bluetooth, and boom, I'm instantly connected now to the phone. And so that's a really easy way to bounce back and forth if you're switching, quickly to a phone or to another Bluetooth device. All right, now that we've talked through an overview of the receiver and the transmitter, let's dive deeper into the menu settings. So we're here at the receiver, and there's a lot of stuff already being displayed and communicating to us. So for starters, we can use our control dial here, and if we just move it down one notch, we'll see this little dotted yellow box, and this is showing what we're controlling. If we move it down again, we'll see it pop to one of the transmitters, and move it again, it's on the other transmitter, and then we can move it back and forth that way. And then if we push in the button, it will turn solid, which means we're now controlling an attribute here. And if we do the dial again, we'll see a +1 to plus whatever we move it to. So this is actually showing gain control for the receiver. If we press the button again, it's going to go dashed. We can move down and select a transmitter. We're going to push it. And now we can do a gain control on the first transmitter. If we push it again, maybe we say, let's put this at +2. Push it again, scroll over, push the second one, we can now do a quick gain control, let's say maybe -2. Press it again. So that's a quick way to do some different gain controls on the receiver, transmitter 1 and transmitter 2. So up here on this top row where the yellow dashes are, there's these little white icons. S stands for stereo, and 32BF stands for 32-bit float audio. So this is just telling me I'm currently in stereo mode, and that I'm in the 32-bit float audio recording. And then at the end, I see my little battery icon. Now, depending on what menu items have been selected here, there's going to be different icons displaying on this top row. So it's really just a nice visual indicator to see what's going on at a glance. This will change as we go through the menu. So from this page, what we can do is actually swipe down, and this is going to reveal the rest of the menu. And then we can use our control dial or touchscreen to cycle through different options, or cycle through different options this way. So we've got our receiver settings, transmitter settings, device linking, device management, timecode, connect to app, and general. And we're going to start over here with the receiver settings. So go ahead and push that button or touch the icon to get into it. And right here, the first option is stereo. And what this is actually is the mode that you're in. So if we select this, we're going to see right now we're in the stereo mode. If we select that first option here, it's going to switch it to quadraphonic, which I'll explain in a second, or we can toggle it again by touching it to switch to mono. Let me break down what all of this means. So when you are in mono mode, you can still have both of the transmitters connected like they are now, but both transmitters are going to be sent to sort of a unified audio file. So when you get your video back to edit it or to listen to it, you're going to have one audio channel that has both the microphones on it, which means you don't have really any flexibility control. Right off the get-go, it's going to be usable and easy to listen to because everybody who's talking, both microphones, will be just audible. The problem is there's no flexibility. And if you want to have some flexibility, that's where you'll want to go to stereo. So we're going to swipe down, go to receiver, go to mono, touch the mono, and now we're in stereo mode. I'm going to swipe back. As we can see, it now says the S right there. And you can see the L and the R icons are separated. They're not both LR. That means left and right. So when you record stereo, one transmitter is going to be sent to the left channel and one is going to be sent to the right channel. So when you're actually listening to it with headphones, you'll hear someone talking only on the left and someone talking only on the right. But in your video editing software, you'll be able to kind of split out that left and right channel and bring them each to their own center as separated audio tracks, which means you'll have full control over muting, volume, the EQ of one transmitter or the other transmitter. So it's basically really good to do that because there's going to be plenty of times where you may have, two people talking over each other. You need to mute one, or, you just want to be able to get the best sounding EQ for both of them. Maybe you have a male voice and a female voice and you just need to treat them differently. Well, when in mono, you're not going to be able to do that. But when in stereo, you can, which is pretty cool. And then there's one other mode. When we go back into the receiver settings and tap this again, this is going to switch to Quadraphonic, which is a brand new mode with the Mic 3. So when you're in Quadraphonic mode, you're going to be able to connect up to 4 transmitters. Let's go ahead and try that. Okay, so right now I have these 2 transmitters connected, and I'm going to try to connect this transmitter now as well. So for starters, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and I'm going to hold down the pairing button to put it into the pairing mode. And then we're going to swipe over here. And in order to get this thing connected, we're actually going to scroll over to device linking. We're going to select that, and we're going to see we have 3 options: plus TX for transmitter, plus RX for receiver, or plus group. We're going to go ahead and hit plus TX. We'll scroll over to transmitter 3 here. We'll select it. It says linking. And now we just got to wait for them to find each other. All right, boom. We'll see the green light is now active and transmitter 3 is rocking. So when we scroll back all the way to the main menu page, you can now see we have 3 mics connected, which is pretty cool. The 4th mic is what's on my shirt right now, and it's currently recording. So let's see how this will work. I guess we'll go ahead and maneuver back over to the device linking page. We'll hit add transmitter. We're going to go ahead and hold this down to pair it. We'll scroll over to device 4. Says we're linking. And we're linked. So as you guys can see, I have all 4 channels connected. Now, not all cameras can take advantage of this 4-channel recording. But certain Sony cameras using the multi-interface shoe adapter can. And so you'll just want to check your camera's abilities to see if it has a 4-channel, option in it. And if it does, cool. Or you can also use this by, plugging the receiver into the computer and using different audio programs to record that way as well. As you guys can see, there's a little Q right there for Quadraphonic and a little red box around TX4, which is the one that I'm wearing right here. And this is just showing that it is recording, which is good. So from this page, we can actually swipe sideways, and this will give us a bigger view of each of the transmitters. And so we can click into transmitter 1, and we actually have some controls right here for it, which is really handy. So if we wanted to fire recording from here, we could just touch it, boom, it's recording now. Or we could do a little mute button, and this will make a red blinking light, which just shows that it is currently muted. If we undo that, it goes back to normal. We can swipe through again, and right here is noise cancellation. We can do basic or strong, or turn it back off, and that is indicated by a yellow light right here. We turn it back off, it goes back to normal. And then we see we have 3 different presets for vocal tone. We have regular, rich, which is going to make it a little bit boomier, kind of a warmer, more deeper preset. And then bright, which is the opposite. It's going to make it a little higher, cut through, and crisper in the mix. And then regular is just your standard. And we can do that for any one of the transmitters there. And the other thing we can do is swipe up. And this is going to give us some quick controls for the whole group. So I can start recording, or I could activate noise cancellation for all of the group settings. All right, so from here, let's go ahead and take this back to maybe stereo. So that's gonna do it for the quadraphonic stuff for now. What we're gonna do is actually remove the transmitters 3 and 4. So we'll swipe down and scroll over past device linking and into device management. And we're going to go ahead and select transmitters. We're gonna swipe over to transmitter 3 and we're gonna say delete. And then we're gonna go to transmitter 4 and say delete. Okay, let's move along. So swiping down, we're gonna go back into receiver settings, and all of that was basically just covering the first tab. Scrolling along now, we have audio monitoring. So when you plug in a pair of headphones to do monitoring, you can actually adjust the gain and kind of like the level of how loud that is. And so you'll be able to do that here. You can select which transmitter you're wanting to listen in on, and then you can do the volume that you want to hear that at accordingly, which is pretty handy. Swiping back, we can go into regular gain. And so if we adjust that up to like maybe +3, then when we swipe back out, we're going to see that +3 indicated right up on the top there. And if we wanted to adjust it from this screen, again, we can just select it and then bring it back down. That's going to adjust gain. And we can select it again to be able to select other things. So after this gain setting, we actually have a brand new one for the Mic 3, which is lossless audio. So if we select into this, we have the option on or off. The lossless audio setting will transmit a higher quality wireless audio to the receiver. So, it's just going to be better quality. It's going to be more uncompressed. And I think it's a good option. Now, it is going to drain battery faster. But if you want to have the most flexibility over the wireless audio, then lossless would be a good option to use. Next up, we have the auto on-off with camera. We can turn it on or off. And when it is on, essentially what will happen is when the receiver is plugged into the camera using the 3.5mm audio cable or the multi-interface shoe adapter, when the camera turns off, the receiver will turn off. And when the camera turns on, the receiver will turn on, which is just a nice way to save power. Next up, we have auto off, which basically we can turn this on or off. And if the receiver is on, but there is no transmitters connected or it is not connected to anything, it will auto power off after I think like 15 minutes or something. Then there is this new setting called environment. Let's click into here and it's going to give you a little disclaimer. Go ahead and say okay. And you can choose indoor or outdoor, and then you can choose to always ask when power on. So let me explain what's going on here. So this has to do with wireless interference and wireless signal bands. So a lot of consumer electronics are going to be around the same channel frequency, and this includes this. But when you choose the indoor option, it's going to allow this device in selected regions to essentially connect to an expanded realm of kind of wireless frequencies. So you're less likely to get interference and you're less likely to be competing with everybody when you're in a crowded indoor environment like a convention or a conference or a concert, and there's a lot of wireless signal going on. The chances of your interference is higher there, but because of this new setting, you have a wider range to connect to and use that other people don't have. And so it just makes you have less chance of interference, basically. But if you are shooting outside, typically this isn't an issue at all, and you can just choose the outdoor setting, which will be better suited for that environment. So depending on if you're indoors or outdoors, you can choose accordingly just to make sure you have the best chance of getting, your audio not having interference. And then beyond that, you have the option to, always ask this right away when it powers on, which personally I find a little bit annoying. I just like to go in and change it if I need to. But yeah, you've got the option to do what works best for you. Also, if you press and hold the button dial, the screen will lock, and so nothing you do will be messing with it. But to unlock it, just press and hold again, and it will unlock, and you'll be able to go back to controlling things like normal. This is just a little safety feature that's nice to know about. So that's going to basically do it for the receiver settings. Now we're going to talk through the transmitter settings. We'll click into here, and the first option here is low cut. When low cut is on, it's going to cut out the low parts of the audio frequencies. And this can be helpful if you're in a room or a building that has like a low hum from an AC unit or something, or you're next to the road and there's traffic going by and it has a kind of low frequency to it. This will just help cut some of that stuff down so that your voice cuts through more. And that's usually what it's going to be used for. Most of the time, personally, I leave it off because I like to do any sort of low cuts or stuff like that in my own EQ manually when I'm editing. But if you're doing a live stream or you just want to get a really quick, better sounding audio in those environments, you can experiment with low cut. Next up, we have the gain for the transmitter. So we can go ahead and choose which transmitter we want to operate with. We'll select one. Turn it up to +2, swipe back to the menu screen, and we can see there's now a +2 right there. And again, if we wanted to quickly adjust that, we can scroll on over, select it, move it back down to 0, select again, and we're good to go. Next, we have adaptive gain control. We can click into here, and let's go ahead and select this to turn it on. Then we have two options. There's automatic and dynamic. Automatic adaptive gain control is going to be more useful for very unpredictable, noisy, loud environments where, there could be these sudden bursts or peaks of audio. It's going to help make sure that your audio doesn't distort and overdrive because of the gain. And so if you're in that kind of environment where there's just a lot of unpredictability, turning this on could be a good thing to try. And then beyond that, there's the dynamic adaptive gain control. This is going to be more useful for a studio environment. Maybe you're doing a podcast and you're not sure how loud people will talk or if they're going to suddenly laugh really loud or get down to a whisper. This dynamic adaptive gain control will be a good option to use in that environment where it's not so unpredictable, but there could still be some fluctuations. Next, we have 32-bit float recording. We'll go ahead and select into there, and we can turn this off or on. So basically, 32-bit float audio allows you to kind of preserve areas of your audio that may have peaked or gotten too loud. You're able to kind of bring those audio files back down and save them. It's kind of like in photography, if you're familiar and you shoot with a RAW file, maybe your highlights are blown out, but because of the RAW file, you're able to bring that data back in a little bit more than you would on a JPEG. That's sort of the idea here. It just gives you more information to preserve that stuff if you do happen to overdrive it. Now, the 32-bit float audio is not being transferred into your video recording. It is only going to be the separate audio that's recorded onto the transmitter. I view it as like a fail-safe. I view it as also just a higher quality recording. So sometimes I like to just flip it out for, the recorded version, even if it takes me a little extra time to do that. That's really going to be where you get the best quality raw audio to then manipulate later with your own EQ and your own noise cancellation in your video editor. So that's 32-bit float. So this record stop option, it's not actually in the manual, so a little weird. And I don't find it to be working the way that I think it should be working. I think it's supposed to be kind of like the Mic 2's record stop lock, which is essentially like when it's on, it's supposed to be where, you can't stop the recording if you accidentally press the button. But I have this on and I can still start and stop recording. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm doing it right or not. Or if it's just, maybe a current bug in the firmware or something. But yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be. I'm not really sure. So we'll move on from there. Noise cancellation via button. So basically this just means using the button press here where you double press the record and it turns the noise cancellation on. We'll go ahead and undo it. And if we turn this noise cancellation button off, then when we do that button press combo, it is not going to do that, which means it will not accidentally turn on noise cancellation if you don't want it. So it gives you more control. So personally, I'm just gonna, I'll turn it on for now, but most of the time I'll probably leave it off. Then we have startup auto recording. What this means is essentially when you take the transmitters out of the charging case, they'll start recording immediately. So let's go ahead and try this out. We'll go ahead and turn startup auto recording on, and this is going to apply to all of the connected transmitters. And we'll go ahead and just place everything back in the case. And we'll go ahead and open it up, take one of these guys out. Boom, it buzzed. It's recording instantly. So this is working. So this is a really helpful option just to make sure, you're not going to miss anything. If you're at a really important event or a really important shoot and you just want to make sure you're not going to miss it at all, you could turn that on just to make sure it's always recording, basically. All right, then we have this low power auto recording option, and we can turn this on or off. What will happen is if the receiver gets low power to the point where it's going to die, it will auto trigger the transmitters to start recording. Because if the receiver dies, then you're not going to have any audio because the transmitters will be sending audio to nothing. They'll basically disconnect. And so this is a failsafe. If your receiver is low power, it will auto trigger the transmitters to start recording. And that way, when the receiver dies, you will still have audio. So I would definitely just leave this on. I think it's a good safety measure to do. All right, then we have loop recording. So basically loop recording is kind of another failsafe where if you are, maybe you record a lot with these transmitters and the transmitter is near full. What's going to happen is when it actually does become full when you're recording, it's not just going to stop recording. It will loop back over the oldest files. So it'll basically delete the oldest files on the transmitter and replace it with the latest thing you're recording. I would say most of the time loop recording is probably good to have on because chances are you've already pulled off that older audio. And if you are actively recording, you're going to actively want that when you get back and you don't want to assume it was recorded and stopped because it was full. So I think it's a good safety recording to leave on. Then we have storage. So we can click into storage and this just tells us how much space we have left on any given transmitter that is currently connected. And then there's vibration. So these transmitters, they give haptic feedback depending on what you're doing. If you press record, if you activate different settings, it's just a good little indicator like, okay, yeah, it heard what I was doing. And so I like to leave it on, but there could be situations where you don't want that. So you just click into here and turn it off. Then we have the LED indicators. We click into here and we turn those off. Boom. This transmitter is still on. I'll prove it to you. Boom. We see everything rocking, but all the lights are off. So this is a great little option if you are just wanting to have the transmitter in shot, but have it be a little more discreet. But I like to leave them on most of the time just so I get those visual indicators of what is happening with them. All right, then we have the auto off for the transmitters, which just means if they are on, but they are not connected to Bluetooth or receiver, and they are also not recording, they will turn off after, I believe it's about 15 minutes, just to save power. And then we have file options. So if we click into here, this has to do with our 32-bit float internal recording. So you have original file, or you have original file and edited file. So if you only choose original file, all you're going to get is the raw 32-bit float internal recording. But if you choose original and edited, you're going to get that raw 32-bit float internal recording, and you're also going to get a duplicate version of that file that has all of the processing embedded into it, like noise canceling, low cuts, stuff like that, or the vocal preset even. And so it will just give you a little bit more options, but it will take up more space. So if we just go to original file only, and then we scroll back to our storage, you'll see we've just doubled the amount of time that we can record for, so 42 hours, versus when we go back to file option and do that doubled out version, have about 20 or so hours. So pros and cons, it just depends on what you need. I do think it's a cool little option to at least experiment with. So the other thing I want to mention about the transmitter settings is on this main menu screen. If you swipe up, you can do a all record or an all noise cancel. So if I have these two transmitters connected right now, and if I do all record, this is going to enable it. I'll confirm it, and it started recording everything, and I can do it again, confirm, and it turns them all off at once, which is pretty handy. Same with the noise cancellation. We'll confirm it, and we'll confirm again to have strong noise cancel. We'll see the yellow dots are now on. Also, as another indicator here, at a quick glance, the little yellow dot shows up over the icon there by the volume indicators. So again, if we turn that off, confirm it, we'll see the lights are back to green. It shows off there, and there is no yellow dot anymore. So those are some quick master controls, and this will be the same if you have 4 connected. You can do them to all of them at once by swiping up. Or again, you can touch into an individual transmitter and have those controls plus the vocal preset options for a given transmitter by touching into it. Again, this is transmitter 2 now, swipe over, and we'll see those effects. So that's pretty much it for controlling the transmitters. Let's move on to the next setting. And so now we're talking about device linking. If we click into here, we've seen this a little bit in the Quadraphonic setting, but if we wanted to add a transmitter, we just hit +TX, and we need to make sure that transmitter is on and that it's in the pairing mode. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll swipe on over and choose, we want slot number 3. Let it find itself. Boom, we have transmitter 3 now connected. Pretty cool. You can see it's connected, rocking. In order to remove it, what we'll do is not go to device linking, but go to device management. And then we'll select transmitter, swipe on over to 3, and hit delete. And now it has been removed, and we just have the 2 again. Now, the other interesting thing you can do with this system is you can actually connect multiple receivers to each other. So you can have a max of 4 transmitters being sent to 8 different receivers. So you could have 8 different devices, whether it's cameras, phones, computers, receiving the 4 transmitters, up to 4 transmitters at the same time, which is pretty cool. So let me show you, I have another receiver here. We'll go ahead and turn it on. And what we're gonna do with this guy, as you can see, there's nothing connected to it right now. These 2 transmitters here are connected to here. This has nothing. And so what we're gonna do is actually swipe on over to here, and we're gonna go to device linking, and instead of TX, we're gonna do +RX. It's ready to connect. We'll grab the other receiver, swipe down, and we'll go to device linking. Instead of +RX, we're gonna do +group. Go ahead and press this one again. We're gonna confirm. We'll see it's ready to connect. Boom, we see these 2 codes. So I just gotta confirm it on the master one. So it is confirmed, it's joining it. And now if I go back out, the master, the original is still there, it's the host. And then we'll scroll back through and we have this SEC now for like secondary. And we can see they're getting the same signal. So if I bring this receiver in and tap on it, boom. So this is pretty cool. This means that two different cameras or whatever else you have connected to it can get the same audio file. Pretty interesting. Now, in order to undo this, we can just go back into our host device, scroll over to device management, and we're going to select receiver, and we'll select RX2, and we're going to delete it. And now all we have is our current device, and we'll see this has lost its connection. So that's how you can connect to multiple receivers. Again, you can do 4 transmitters sending to 8 different receivers at once, which is pretty cool. Check this out. If I go to TX, I can see I have right now transmitter 1 and 2 connected. And if I scroll over, I can hit delete all transmitters. So I'm going to do that real quick. We're going to delete them all. So now I have nothing connected to this receiver. And so in order to add them back, I could go into the device linking and add it this way. Or the other option, if you have the charging case, is just to plug everything in. And they'll actually link up this way. This is one of the kind of easier, faster ways just to get everything back and linked up. Sometimes just closing it and opening it, you'll see everything sync back up. Boom. So that's device linking and device management. The next option is Timecode. And if we go ahead and click into here, we'll have a couple of options. Right now it's currently off. So let me preface this by saying I don't use Timecode. I never have. It's not something I've really ever needed. So I'm by no means an expert on it. And I don't want to steer you guys wrong or give you misinformation. But I will do my best to explain what I've kind of learned about it with this device specifically. Just to help point you in the right direction as a foundation if it's something you need. But you'll want to probably find a different video that goes into more detail for your specific camera. I'm not going to go into a bunch of stuff like that. But and basically what Timecode is it allows you to sync up all your different cameras and audio devices so that you can do a big shoot day, bring them all back, and use your editor's timecode syncing functionality to line everything up super quick and super easy. It's meant to embed that stuff into the video files so that it's really easy to have everything on one synchronized clock. So no matter start and stopping recording a bunch of times throughout the day, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to sync everything up after a big shoot from all different cameras and angles and locations. So it's cool in theory. It's just not something I've ever really needed. But let's see what we can do. So looking into this setting here, we can go ahead and turn it on, and you'll see we have this option of master run, which is what the main receiver is in right now. And then there's this frame rate option here. And so you'll want to make sure that your frame rate of all your devices are matched up the same. So for now, let's just do 23.98. But if we scroll through, you'll see a couple of these have DF, and this stands for drop frame. And what this is for is if you're shooting at a high frame rate, like 120 frames per second or something, you'll want to use a drop frame, which is essentially the lowest common denominator. So I think it's like if it's 120, you'll want to do 30, give or take there's some really like incremental values as well. So, I think some of the Sony cameras aren't technically 120, they're like 119.8 or something like that. And so that equates to like 29.97. But yeah, depending on what you are doing, you'll want to do the drop frame rate if you're shooting like higher frames. But for most things, you'll probably do something like, maybe 23.98. Let's just select that for now. And from here, we can swipe over, and there's a couple of options. So you can reset your time code. Let's just go ahead and reset it. Just start at a fresh one. And then there's a couple of options for output type. So you can just not send anything with the output. You can do A out, L out, and LN. Now, to my understanding, I hope I get this right, but I think A out is meant for like audio timecode, which is where it sends like a physical kind of like audio beep, kind of like a slate sort of thing that you can use with cameras that don't have the timecode capabilities to still be able to easily sync in your video editors. And then there's L out, which is a linear timecode, which I believe is for cameras that have timecode capabilities where it can like read it and do everything properly. And then there's LN, which I believe is for if you're using a separate sort of like main timecode generator, like a dedicated timecode generator device, and you're running that into the receiver. So you want to pull its timecode, then you would use LN. All right, so as you can see on my DJI Pocket 3, I'm on 29.97 frame rate currently. So let's go and change this on my timecode settings here to 29.97 frames. And we're gonna try just plugging this in, see what happens. It's synced successfully. And now, as you guys can see, the two times are the same. So we have around 50 seconds and 58. It's going to switch into a minute. It's on a minute. So now these are synced up with the timecode, which is pretty cool. So again, timecode I'm a little bit limited on. Hopefully that gives you some starting point for it. But yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge with this. All right, moving on from timecode, we're going to go into connect to app. And from here, it will just say connecting will disconnect everything. So let's go ahead and confirm. And it says ready to connect. So we'll go ahead and pull out the phone. So from here, we'll open up DJI Mimo. This says ready to connect. I now see it right here. Let's hit connect. There's a little code. We're going to confirm that's the correct code. We're going to join. And boom, we are now wirelessly connected, which is pretty cool. So if you want to connect the receiver to the phone wirelessly to do some different controls, you know, from the phone, you can do it that way, which is pretty cool. From here, we're going to go ahead and just close that out, and we're back onto our receiver. We'll go into our general settings. We have screen brightness, so we can just adjust how bright the screen is. And then there is language, so what language you need, date and time, if you need to change that. There's a factory reset option, and then there's a firmware version and compliance info. So let's talk about firmware updates. So I think I actually need to do that right now anyways. And so this is what I would do if I was going to update the firmware. You can either use the connect to app feature like I just showed you, or what I like to do, just because I feel like it's more secure, is I'm going to actually hard plug this into the phone. So I'm going to plug the receiver into the phone, and then it's going to pop up go to settings or record only. I'm going to say go to settings. And from here, we have a bunch of setting controls, just like we do with the connect to app. We can see stuff for the transmitters or the receiver, basically anything that's connected to this. And what I'm going to do is click these three dots up in the corner, and you can scroll all the way down to about devices. And you'll see there's a little red dot, which means there are some notifications. And I can see right here, there's RX at the top, and then TX1 and TX2. And it looks like all of them have some new firmware updates available. And so for right now, since I have the receiver plugged into the phone, I'm going to select this new option here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit firmware transfer. And we'll just wait for this to run its course. And boom, the firmware update is complete. So we'll hit done. So as we can see, the receiver is now up to date on firmware version 2, but the transmitters are still on version 1. So I can either connect the transmitters to the phone and go through the same process that way, or I can simply just place them all into the case, and the receiver is going to update them for me. So let's do that. And we're going to place the receiver in here as well. It's going to prompt to update. I'm going to say update now. And it shows updating. And now we're just going to wait a few minutes while this updates both of the transmitters and the charging case. And boom, the update has been successful. Boom. And we can verify that the firmware is up to date by scrolling on over to General and going on over to Version. And we can see the transmitters are now on version 2 and the receiver is on version 2. Pretty cool. All right, now I want to talk about using the transmitter with the phone. So we opened up the DJI Mimo app, we put the transmitter into pairing mode. We're going to go ahead and connect them just straight to the app, not using a receiver at all, right? So this is only the transmitter going directly to the phone. We're going to go ahead and join via Bluetooth and we're connected. So from here, we basically have all of the same sort of controls that we do using the receiver, which is cool. We can do the 3 dots at top and go into the about to get into the firmware update if we want to do it that way. But yeah, pretty much all of the same controls are here as they are in the receiver, just in different places. But something I want to mention is when using the transmitter paired through Bluetooth over the native phone app, it doesn't actually do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and record here and tap on the mic. I'll do a little playback. And it's just still coming through my phone speakers, basically. So there's not much really happening there. In order to get this audio to work with the phone, you need to use the receiver. You just plug it in and everything will work fine. But if you really don't want to use the receiver, there is a workaround. You can actually use one of DJI's competitors. You can use Rode, the Rode Reporter app. We'll tap, we can see it is connected. And we'll go with the Rode app open. We're going to go into our native phone app and I'm going to record. And then we actually can't listen to it back because the Rode app is treating this as a Bluetooth audio device, so there's no audio. But if we close it and then listen back, it is connected through the native app. So that is one workaround. The other workaround I've found is to do the Blackmagic camera app. From here, we can see we're actually already connected, but you can just go to the settings, scroll down, see your audio source, and it is the DJI Mic 3. So that's another way that you can use the Blackmagic app to do it that way. I also want to quickly show you how to connect the transmitter to a device like the Osmo or maybe one of the action cameras. What you'll want to do is switch it into Bluetooth mode. And so we'll go ahead and tap the Bluetooth mode and we're going to go ahead and hold it down so that it is now looking to connect. Then on the Osmo, we'll scroll down, go to settings, wireless mic, transmitter 1, and it is looking to connect and it's connected. You'll see the blue light is on, we'll confirm. And as we can see, we've got connection. Then on the shooting page, you can actually swipe to the side and click this little icon right here. And you have a couple of different options right here. So if I want to turn on high noise reduction, I can. As you guys can see, I operated it straight away from here. I can change between mono and stereo. I can mute the transmitter. I can adjust the gain. So a couple of quick, a little bit more limited, but just quick controls that you can do without needing a receiver at all, which is pretty awesome. So let's talk about the Sony multi-interface shoe adapter. This allows you to connect the receiver to your Sony camera without needing the 3.5mm audio cable, which keeps everything really nice and flush. All you need to do is connect the adapter to the top of the camera, use the USB-C adapter on the receiver, and plug that into the top. At first it will look upside down, but as soon as you turn the camera on, it will flip the right way and you'll be able to see everything accordingly, which is pretty cool. The cool thing about the Sony adapter is you won't need to worry about your camera's internal audio levels because the adapter is going to auto level it for you, which is really great. And so it's one less thing to kind of need to worry about. And I just wanted to show you guys on your settings, when you go into the menu on the back of your Sony camera, if you scroll into the shooting tab and then go down to option 6, which is audio recording, depending on your camera, you'll be able to go in here and go down to the Mi-Shoe audio set, and you can choose, do you want 2-channel or 4-channel? So if you're doing the quadraphonic setting where you have 4 connected, you'll want to use this 4-channel option, which will allow you to actually see all of those audio files separated when you look at the expanded audio in your video file. Most of the time, though, you can do that 24-bit 2-channel, which will allow you to take advantage of the lossless 24-bit audio send to the receiver. And so using the Mi-Shoe, you can take advantage of the quadraphonic and the lossless in these really good ways. So just make sure you match your settings in your camera accordingly, like that. The other cool thing is that you can actually flip this around because of the USB-C port. You can just pop it off at the top and actually pivot it around. And this way, you'll be able to see the screen facing you as you're recording yourself, which is pretty awesome. So I want to go ahead and talk about levels. When you are using the Sony Mi-Shoe adapter, which is something I do a lot, you don't have to worry about this quite as much because there's a lot of auto leveling that will happen for you. But if you are using the 3.5mm audio cable to your camera, there's going to be a little bit of a balancing act that has to happen between your camera, the receiver, and the transmitters. Each of them have their own levels, and they kind of need to work together in harmony to give you the best results. So you can see this green line happening right now. If I talk really close to it and it starts to get up into the red and I'm talking loud, that's going to be peaking the audio. When you get that audio back and you're listening to it, it's going to sound distorted and it's just not going to sound very good, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that those levels at all different points of contact are not getting into the red. And so typically what I like to do is first and foremost get my gain going to the transmitter correct. And so you'll want to hold the mic about as far out as you think you'll have it when you're recording, and talk about as loud as you think you'll be talking. And you'll want the audio levels to fall, about where they're falling right now. Like you want to see maybe a tiny bit of yellow at the loudest points, but pretty much just being in the green like that is good. And so this right now I have it at 0 gain on the transmitter. Now, if I was to change this and go up a little bit, let's go ahead and crank it really hot up to whatever it goes to, 12, yeah. So we'll go up to 12. Same thing where I'm instantly getting into the red, even if I'm talking pretty quiet. Even if I pull it away some, it's still really hot. And so what I have found for the most part is running the transmitter around 0 seems to work pretty good. It's a good starting point at least. And then the next kind of place you'll want to look at is your camera volume. So going to the back of my screen here and looking at my camera's volume, I can see that currently when I'm talking into the transmitter, even though the levels are like more or less pretty good on the receiver, on the camera, they are well beyond where I want them to be. You really want them to fall between, anywhere from like -12 to -3, usually right around -6. When it hangs out around there, most of the time is pretty good, kind of that -12 to -6 range. And so I'm going to turn my camera volume all the way down to 1. And I'm going to hold my transmitter, back where I need it to be at. And I can see that it's okay, but it's a little below -12 right now. And that's not quite where I want it. I want it maybe a smidge more. And so I'm going to actually go into the receiver gain settings. I'm going to turn this up to about +9. I'm going to hold this back in there, talk into it. Check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2. Yeah, I would say like probably realistically that's looking a little bit better. Check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2. It's hanging out around -12, maybe jumping up to around -6. That seems pretty decent. Check 1, check 2. So I found in my test that around +6 to +9 on the receiver, and then 1 on the camera and 0 on the transmitter is maybe a pretty safe place to start, at least with Sony cameras. I believe DJI has a video that kind of breaks down a couple of recommendations for different camera systems. If I find that, I'll link that in the description below. but that should give you a good place to start, and then just adjust for how loud you talk, how quiet you talk, your environment, all of those good things. So the last thing I wanted to mention is how to get these internal 32-bit float recordings off of this transmitter, because as you guys can see, there is nowhere to plug it in. There's no USB-C port. So the way you do it is you'll actually place the transmitter into the charging case and plug that into the computer. And from there, whatever transmitters you have in that case are going to show up as separated, files that you can browse through, kind of like a thumb drive would be or an SD card. And so it's a great way to, if you have audio recordings on two transmitters and they're both in the case, you can pull them up that way. Now, if you don't have the case, DJI does sell the cable that these transmitters connect to charge, and I believe that will also do file transfer that way. So it just depends on how you have, what setup you have. But yeah, that's how you get the files off of it. And then the last thing to mention is with the receiver, you can plug that directly into the computer and it will show up basically just as audio source. And so you can run it as normal, have your transmitters running to the receiver, and you can use it for live streams, for Zoom calls, whatever you want to do with your computer. So throughout this video, you've seen me talk about using my Sony camera and the DJI Pocket 3 with this audio device. And I think they're great options to use with the Mic 3. And if you're interested in learning more about either of those cameras, I have full video reviews right here. I've placed links in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, stay creative. Peace.